All right, so let me give you some thoughts on the business. I know that, show of hands again, who's interested in growing a practice, an independent practice? Okay, and who's absolutely not? As in, like, no, self-employment is just not for you. You're definitely going to be. Okay, cool, thank you. So this is some stuff I've been thinking about over the years, which I've developed to support coaches in thinking about their business. And the first one is what I call life outcomes, and it's really your North Star for your business. I think that when we start a business, we often get trapped by the business because we start it, we think it's about getting clients, we think it's about getting revenue, and then we get trapped into that process and not think about why did we start it in the first place. But we typically start a business for a reason, and we've got to stay connected to that reason. So life is my acronym for that. And the first one is lifestyle. What is the lifestyle you actually want to have? For some people, that might be a grandiose kind of lifestyle of vagabonding around the world and never stopping in one place more than a week, and then moving on to the next beach or the next hotel or the next kind of. Yeah, I mean, but for some people, lifestyle means that. But others, lifestyle is simply you want to be able to take your kids to school, take your kids to work, take your kids to school, drop them up the chimney. Up you go, come on up the chimney. Take your kids to school, pick them up without feeling the stress of having to rush back from work. It could be that for you, spending an extra weekend with your family is lifestyle. Like, lifestyle doesn't have to be the big, huge, exciting thing that Tony Robbins might make you think of. It can just be, how do I make small shifts that make me feel better about my life? Now, here's the thing. If you want to be, let's say I've read a beautiful book called Vagabonding by, anyone know? Somebody Potts. Ralph Potts wrote a book called Vagabonding, which actually inspired what's his name, Timothy Ferriss, to write the 4-Hour Workweek. It was his kind of inspiration. And that's about how do you start to be able to travel the world and do whatever you want for the rest of your life, essentially. Brilliant book, really, really loved that. If that's the life you want, it wouldn't make any sense to make a coaching practice where you have to be face-to-face with somebody in a clinic in Highgate. That's going to totally constrain the lifestyle you're building. So all of it, honestly, it happens that you start a business, you grow your business, you've suddenly got 30 clients who come to see you face to face, and you're like, oh, what happened to that dream I had of traveling the world? And you don't.
From Mexico.
It doesn't matter. Your clients, you can, but your clients expect to see you face to face. You've educated your clients that face to face is how you work, and you built a business on face to face. Now, when you start to realize from day one, the lifestyle I want is this, you find the clients that fit your lifestyle, not vice versa. What most people do is they find the clients, then they've got to adapt the lifestyle to that client. Like, oh, this client wants to see me on Sunday night at 8 o'clock in the evening. What do? I better see them. No, you don't see them unless that's okay for you. But knowing your outcome for your lifestyle is really, really critical. Next up is impact. I for impact. What difference do you want to make in the world? If you want to work with, say, homeless people, and that really matters to you, then it's going to affect the nature of the business you build in terms of it's unlikely you'll become the next Donald Trump as a coach, because it's just not who he is. He's going to, he's all about money and size and growth and lack of compassion. That's not who you'd be if you were doing I for impact. So you've got to think to yourself, what's the impact I want to make, and how important is that versus the other factors that you're looking at? So the next one, which often bumps up against impact, is F for the financial outcome. You say you want to coach homeless people, but you also want to buy your yacht. Which of these is gonna win out? Now, sometimes that happens. Sometimes we go, you know what? I can't have both of these. It's about choice, and then you go to a coach and they help you make the choice, and then you decide which one you want. But these things don't always go hand in hand. Sometimes they do. You know, it depends. The guy that I mentioned earlier, Michael Serwer, he knows exactly why he's so successful is he knows precisely his life outcomes. He knows what his lifestyle is. He used to live in Brockley, which is in southeast London, and he knew that to be the most successful life coach in the UK, he had to move to Mayfair. That was a choice he made, and he moved into a penthouse in Mayfair, just Savile Row. That was a choice he made because that was the lifestyle he wanted to build for himself to be the life coach he wanted to be. Then he knows the impact he wants to make, which is high-performing individuals and how they get to the next level. He doesn't want to work with people who are stuck. He talks about the wounded self and the celebrated self, and when he gets a wounded self, he puts them across to his therapist friend, who's a very, very good therapist. He knows his niche, right? Makes sense? So he knows who he wants to make an impact on. He knows his financial outcomes. He knew he wanted to be the most well-paid coach in the UK. At 500,000 last year, he probably must be near that person already. 30 years old, by the way. I mean, this isn't a guy, it's It's crazy, isn't it? He started when he was 25. The last one, which is often overlooked, is emotional outcomes. How do you want to feel in your life? How do you want to feel about your business? And sometimes we can find that this causes, what's the word I'm looking for? A contradiction. I was recently mentoring somebody who said they wanted to work in an area of impact, which was on women who'd lost their mothers when they were young, and the impact that made on them. But what she found is herself, she was finding it very draining. So she's now got to decide, can she manage this part somehow? Can she stop it feeling draining? Or does she need to recognize that the emotion she's getting is not one she wants, and that she needs to change her marketplace? That's a decision. If you fall into the trap that most people make of building a business without thinking, what are your outcomes that matter to you? You suddenly become a prisoner of the system that's not serving you. You might have the right lifestyle, but you don't feel good. Or you feel great, but you've got no money in the bank. Or you've got money in the bank, but you're not making the impact you want to make. Any of these things can be off kilter. So I see this as a compass, because it's like you've got this compass and you're just going, am I on track? Am I broadly speaking on track? Or do I need to bring myself back on track? And sometimes it's okay to go off track to come back on track. So you might say, right now I want my lifestyle to be super, super relaxed, but for the first 6 months I've got to work like hell to get to that point. I'm going to do this by choice, it's strategic, I know I've got to work really, really hard, but that working hard is going to get me back to a place where I don't have to work so hard. That's strategic. Most people don't do that. They just start working really, 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 really hard, and they go, oh, what happened to that dream I had of living a nice, relaxed life? I had a friend who was a coach, or still is a coach, and she built a great business. In her first year, she went from 0 to 110,000 turnover, but she had ME for 6 years. And what she noticed was that the symptoms of ME were coming back, because she was working so hard to make that 110,000 from being a sales coach. She was working so hard that she was getting symptoms of ME back again. She was getting foggy brain, she was feeling really, really tired. That wasn't okay for her. So she made a strategic decision, no, I need to drop that and come back on track. So important. Isn't that useful? Yeah. Honestly, I cannot tell you how I won't tell you my long boring story, but when I first started a business, I was living in a flat. So I was married I will tell you my story very briefly. By accident. So I got married very early when I was 21. I got engaged at 17, married at 21. And then at 28, I'd really, really had enough. And so I left my wife. And I gave her everything though. I gave her we used to have a 4-bed house in Forest Hill and all sorts of stuff. I gave her everything. And I walked over £30,000 of debt, which in 1998 was quite a lot of money. And I moved into a bedsit in Beckenham, where every time the guy above had a shower, his dirty water would come through my ceiling and drip into a bucket. His water then spread across the ceiling and short fused my electricity. And so the only thing I had was a lamp and an electricity meter. I had zero money for various reasons. And I used to have to ring my mum sometimes and say, Mum, I was 28 years old, 29 years old. And I said, Mum, could you lend me £10 so I can put some money in the electricity meter? I was actually really, really happy, believe it or not, because I had my freedom, but I didn't have a good lifestyle. I knew I wanted to be self-employed. So what happened is one day I got a little bit of piece of paper. At that time I was working for this guy who ran conferences, and we would organise conferences on social issues. So I thought, I could do that. So I got this piece of paper and I wrote down a few numbers. This many delegates times this much per delegate space, minus this much for the room, minus this much for the speaker costs, will make me. And I went, £50,000. I was stunned because I was earning 16,000 at the time. So this 50,000 just looked unbelievable to me. I set up my business, and in the first month of running this business, I made 11,000 profit. Like literally nearly my year's salary from the previous year. Second month, I made 44,000 profit from this business. I worked so hard that year. Ended up making about 130,000 profit by the end of that year. But here's the thing. I realized I was doing nothing but working. When I look back now, I go, Nick, you had no life outcomes. All you had was financial outcome, which was not even a financial outcome. I had a work ethic outcome, which was work really, 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 really hard and feel good about the business. Only later in life did I start to realize that actually, Nick, you've got other issues, not other issues, well, I've got other issues obviously, but other things you need to think about. What do you want your life to look like? What difference do you want to make? Yes, the financial part's important, but how do I want to feel? That's when I started to really control where my business was going and thinking about it and saying, okay, how do I want to make a difference here? That's when I brought in coaching and that kind of thing. It makes a big difference to actually think, what's this business for, not just what is it?